Hour number 2, and it's time to bring in Jason and find out what's going on. We were talking about undue influence and possibly how to, if you were a parent, how to influence your kids to do what you actually wanted. And we presented the idea to Michael Parkhurst to have Greg Garza talk to Michael's kids and have Michael talk to Greg's kids to get done what you actually wanted to get done in the first place.
Sometimes that can work. Sometimes that can lead to bad things. You never know.
No, that's true. And so Abby was mentioning, well, maybe you should just trade your kids.
Wow. Put them in the transfer market, huh?
Yeah, yes. Put them in the transfer window as long as it works. I want to start with last night and match day 34 for the SDH game of the week. And it was our semifinal on the girls' side, and it was rough and tumble first half, and then it went off the rails in the second half with North Gwinnett and West Forsyth.
Yeah, first time we'd been to West Forsyth, one of the up-and-coming programs on the girls' side for sure. It was a weird one because the first half, West Forsyth gets the goal from a penalty and feels like they're in control for the most part. North Gwinnett did have some chances, but first half, it was just okay. It felt like the Wolverines had it, but didn't really know where it was going to go in the second half. And then the second half went off the rails. A ton of goals in the second half. It was 1-0 at halftime, and it ended up 4-2 West Forsyth. But they went up to 3-0, and it looked like it was game over. I mean, you go up 3 goals, and you think it's done. And full credit to North Gwinnett. They'd come back 3 times in the playoffs already from 1-0 deficits. They couldn't quite come back from a 3-0 deficit, but they got it to 3-2 with a great goal and then a penalty. And then you have to flip the credit back to West Forsyth because, we've talked a lot this season about momentum and how it swings and how you manage it. A lot of times when it swings against you that hard, when you go from 3-0 up to 3-2 up and you can feel that pressure, you see teams buckle. West Forsyth didn't, and they were able to flip it back, get that 4th goal, and from there it was pretty much academic that the Wolverines were going to advance.
You end up also with GAC and Jefferson. The match before that, we were up at Jefferson. GAC and Jefferson, familiar folks to one another on the field. GAC takes it all the way to penalties before advancing. I mean, it's you end up with familiar names making it to the finals on the girls' side, but sometimes it took a while for the result to happen last night.
Yeah, we had penalties in a few matches. Walton and Buford being another one. Buford, the top team in 7A. Challenges. I mean, look, you're at this point in the season where there's not a whole lot between a lot of these teams. And I think we've seen this year sometimes the bracket, because it groups teams by region, sometimes like half of the bracket gets stacked one way. And we've seen it. I mean, go back to 5A boys, when you have Dalton and McIntosh and Midtown all in the same area of the bracket, somebody's coming out of that, but only one. And then the other side, it's some teams that you'd be a little surprised that are there. It's Cass, it's Decatur. Tucker was in the quarterfinals. Chattahoochee was in the quarterfinals. So it's always a little bit of a crapshoot because of the way that you break out the brackets. You don't have like an overall seeding setup here. So sometimes you get some really good matchups in earlier stages of the tournament. And I think on the girls' side last night in semifinals, we saw a lot of very evenly matched up games.
Tonight for Maddie and me, it is North Atlanta, River Ridge. River Ridge, we visited them a couple times this season, and it's another test for them. North Atlanta, you'd mentioned North Atlanta knocking off Johns Creek. Not an upset, but kind of one of those where you sit there and you go, huh, okay.
Yeah, North Atlanta's been on the cusp of a few years now, and this is a pretty big breakthrough for them. Johns Creek was one of the top teams in 6A, and a lot of people had them in River Ridge, odds-on favorites to be the champion. And North Atlanta crashed the party. River Ridge will be seen as the favorite. They've got home field in this. They should get through. But North Atlanta is going to be playing with a lot of confidence after knocking off Johns Creek, who, a lot of people had. Kind of when you look at the top 4 teams in the state, Johns Creek, for most people, was in that across all classifications, along with River Ridge and then McIntosh and Johnson. So for North Atlanta to get that done, it's a big win. Can they continue on and have an even bigger win to get to a state final. It'd be a big surprise if they can pull that off. River Ridge at home's a tough team to beat.
Yep, and so that'll be on the network as well as the twos and NYCFC. What's it been like getting ready for NYCFC and Atlanta United 2 with Maddie and I at the high school match? You're doing the twos tonight up at the Fraction.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because the NYC side, they've got a mix of how their roster's built. They've got players like Maximo Carrizo, one of the best young players in the country right now. We've seen him with NYC's U17s last year when we did a friendly or a MLS Next game over in Marietta, and he stood out in that game. He's on a first-team deal with NYC. He is playing some significant minutes with NYCFC too. He's been very productive this year. But then alongside teenagers, NYC has some guys who are out of college, has some guys in their mid-20s, a player that we've seen quite a few times over the years in different clubs. Jake Rosansky, he's with NYCFC too now. So you've got kind of a mixed sort of group with the Pigeons. On the Atlanta side, I mean, look, it's in a really weird spot in the schedule right now with Open Cup on Tuesday and this run of games that they're on and getting guys slowly back from injury and other guys are still out. So what the lineup looks like for Atlanta United 2 tonight, and then what the lineup looks like for the first team in Open Cup next Tuesday, and then the twos play on Wednesday. It's going to be fascinating to see how Gonzalo Pineda and Steve Cook kind of sort that out in these groupings, because tonight might be an opportunity for some guys who are going to feature in the Open Cup to get a good game under their belts and kind of get sharpened up for that.
All right, so it's time to bring in Jared as well. And
it's always dangerous.
Yes, it is always dangerous. And so, Jared, your first question for Jason. I will go ahead and open it up to the floor. What's on your mind this morning for Jason as we get ready for Atlanta United, Minnesota United?
Yeah, and I guess going back to what some of the stuff you talked about with AST this week, Jason, and the way this team has played and the way that they're kind of recovering after the road match in Chicago, which wasn't a bad match, just didn't get the result you wanted. How do you come out locked in on this one so that you don't run into a situation where you drop points for this game because you're still thinking about the points dropped in the last game?
Yeah, I'm not worried about that with this team, honestly. I think there's been some questions about mentality, and we talked about it in pretty specific terms when we're talking about the Philadelphia and the Cincinnati games. Not mentality to me, but momentum and how you manage it. That's different. I mean, that's not the same thing. I think the mentality in this team is good. I think the attitude and the feel inside the team is very good. I think when you have some of the new faces and some of the maybe emerging faces in terms of leadership in this group, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about them dwelling on Chicago or even dwelling on the Philadelphia and Cincinnati games. I think it's just down to capitalizing on opportunities, and it's just down to converting. And look, it's the hardest thing in the game. I mean, we can sit here and talk about, like, well, they got to do this and they got to do that and they got to do that. Go back to the Chicago game, even on a game where they played all right. I mean, could they have been better? Could they have been sharper at times? Yeah. It's on the road, which we see this happen all the time, where teams are not at their sharpest or not at their best. You had some different faces in. You had Yakimakis getting back into the team. So were they at their best? No. Did they produce enough chances to win? Yes, absolutely. Did they prevent enough chances to win? Absolutely. They didn't allow a shot on goal. It's a game you got to win. So it's at that point. I'm not worried about mentality, honestly. I'm not worried about anything from the past affecting them. They just have to find goals, and they have to continue playing defensively the way that they've played. I don't chalk up the goals they've conceded, which they haven't conceded that many. This is the best team in the league in terms of goals conceded. I don't chalk it up to mentality, and I don't chalk up the misses to mentality. So I really think it comes down to managing momentum, and I think they did a much better job with that in Chicago. Anytime Chicago started to get things going, it felt like Atlanta intentionally slowed things down, which I like. You can control pace at times, which I think is good. And maybe you can get a little bit better with changing pace. In Chicago, they did a good job of slowing it down. When they're able to build up and break through the first couple of lines of the opponent, that's where you need to find your opportunities to change the pace and quicken the pace. Be patient in the buildup, get the buildup down the right way. I feel like we've talked about this a million times over the years. If you build up cleanly out of the back, you're going to create better chances going forward because you're going to cleanly eliminate defenders. Packing is one of the terms, one of the new things that's going around as we kind of analyze the game and analyze how effective you are. If you eliminate defenders in your buildup, so ball's on the foot of Luis Abram, and he's able, which he's been doing more and more here lately, to pass between two Chicago players to Thiago Almada at midfield. You've eliminated two defenders with one pass. When they do that and build up effectively, then you're going to either be 5-on-5 or you're going to be 5-on-4 or some variation of such. Maybe 4v5, but you like the quality of your 4. You want to create those opportunities. That's where you can speed up. But controlling pace, I think, is a key element in this game. But more than anything, it's just going to come down to when Minnesota gets their opportunities, which they will. They're a good team. They're going to create things, and they're going to have some momentum at times where they create a few chances in a short period of time. Ride that out, get the job done, reverse the momentum. And then when you have it, and you will in this game, you will at home especially, convert. Put goals in the back of the net. Sounds easy, but it's not. But that's really what this comes down to for me.
When it comes to injuries and rehabbing and general health, when you've been up there at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground this week, what have you seen?
Derek Williams, Jamal TRA have not been out with the group. I believe Williams has been on his own at times doing some different things. Gregerson has been with the group. I'm not sure if he's been modified in his training in any capacity. I think maybe a little bit, maybe earlier in the week. Sean De Silva is getting close. Don't remember him specifically being with the full group, but he's been out there, so he's getting close. I don't know about for Saturday, and I think we'll get that update later today after today's session. Gregerson was available last week. He'll be available again. I haven't seen anything about a setback. Is he ready to start or play a significant role off the bench, or is he a reserve who can come into the game late if needed? One thing that jumped out to me, and Noah Cobb, all good on Noah Cobb, had a chance to talk to Gonzalo Pineda yesterday, and he said it before last week and then again this week. So Noah had the migraine. We know that. He trained the next week before Chicago, all good. Didn't feel right over the weekend. Gonzalo made the call to sit him, not last minute, but pretty much as the team was getting ready to head to the stadium. Efrain Morales got the start and played very well. Noah's trained all week this week and been fine. So there's not a concern. And what Gonzalo said to the media is that the migraine and him not feeling well last week are two completely unrelated things. So don't link them. Don't try to link them. Don't try to create a narrative. Don't say that because it's not true. They're not related. It's bad luck that he had an issue with illness. And I don't know specifically what kind of illness, but he had issue with illness after leaving a game with a migraine. They were not related. Were they maybe a little more careful with illness after having a migraine the week before? Sure. Was the illness related to the migraine? Was the migraine related to the illness? No. So Noah's available. I would expect that either he starts or Gregerson starts. My guess would be Noah just because we haven't seen Stian since he came back.
Jarrett, what else is on your mind this morning with Jason?
Let's lighten the mood a bit because I have a question for Jason. Aside from MLS Cup,
yes,
is the second greatest moment in this franchise when they played Champagne Supernova after the U.S. Open Cup?
It might be.
Because I think I screamed in the hallway of the press box when it happened.
I think we did.
Well, I was in, luckily we were in a break. That was the infamous game that we were not allowed to call on radio due to rights issues. However, Minnesota, because they were an ESPN network radio station and ESPN had the rights to the Open Cup at that time, they were able to call it in the booth next to us. We did a pregame and a postgame show for a game that we did not call,
Yes.
which is crazy in and of itself. But I know we were in a break either before our post game was starting or after the first segment, and they played Champagne Supernova, and I lost my mind. I absolutely lost my mind. I think I scared Mike. I'm almost positive I scared our engineer Miller. Yeah, it was something. Whoever made that call, and I have never found out who had that one dialed up and ready to go. Whoever it was, I hope they had all the drinks bought for them that evening.
Yeah, let's see if maybe we can find that cut once again.
That might be if we ever get like the true behind the scenes history of Atlanta United. If we get to do that show, or if I work on it with Joe Freihofer or whatever, that might be one of those mysteries we try to solve.
When it comes to Minnesota, they have a new coach who is finally there.
He is there. The sporting director is there. They all finally showed up. They weren't imaginary people. This is true.
So it was not Jonathan Tuttle, who is.
They go to another school.
Yes, exactly. They're from Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
You have a situation where Ramsey wants to do things with youth. He wants to have younger players. He wants to press. Nick would be happy with the philosophy for Eric Ramsey. But there are players that are older than Eric that are on this roster, one of them being Timu Pukki. Pukki Power was giving Minnesota goals. He's been coming off the bench. He hasn't been starting. Does it seem like they're trying to figure out the transitions about what Ramsey wants to do in future seasons, still dealing with the folks that he has there on hand? What are you looking at with Minnesota?
Well, I mean, kind of, but they're also on a back-to-back game winning streak here. So let's not fully discount Minnesota. They're the sixth best team in the league at the moment. This is a very good team, whether they're looking to the future or not. And as the Atlanta Falcons have showed us, you can try to win and look to the future at the same time.
What?
Yeah, I know. Some people are going to get really upset about that. Look, I mean, Minnesota's doing well, and it started before Ramsey. Yes, that's how the season started. But you look back at where they are. They went through that spell where they lost in Philadelphia. That's not a huge shock. They drew at home to Real Salt Lake. That's also not a huge shock. And they lost at home to Houston. Maybe a little bit more of a shock, but not gigantic, honestly, because Houston's pretty good as well. So that's 3 games without a win. And then they went to Charlotte and just beat the brakes off of Charlotte. 3-0, and it could have been 10.
Yes.
And then they beat Kansas City at home. So they've won 2 in a row. You go back to that Kansas City game and you look at the lineup, and there is Mr. Pukki starting in that one, in their 5-3-2. Now, the question for me when you look at Minnesota as they try to figure out who they are and what they want to be, they're in a 5-3-2, and in that 5-3-2, you have 2 players centrally who typically you think of as wider players in Robin Lod and Fragapane. That can work. That can still work. You can drift wide. You can do that. You have 2 up top. Pukki is always going to be the focal point whenever he's on the field, although he dropped a little bit deeper in that Kansas City game. For me, when I look at them, what I really zero in on is Rosales, the left wing back. Taylor, the right wing back. They both like to get forward. Rosales even more than Taylor. So that kind of tilts you. You become a little lopsided. It creates opportunity. It can create mismatches for them when they get forward and do it well. But it creates mismatches for you potentially to be able to attack down that side. That's Minnesota's left. Atlanta's right has been their strength all season. So that becomes a really interesting matchup. It's not a direct 1v1 between Brooks Lennon and Rosales, but kind of whichever one has the bigger day, I think is going to lead their team to the win.
Jarrett, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. Is that matchup with the left wing back going down the right side against Atlanta? And I guess to just build on that, the idea of controlling the field position of it all as well, and controlling, basically operating in which end of the field, which half of the field, and operating safely for Atlanta, and how important. I wanted to ask you about how important that's going to be with maintaining, not being kind of pinned into dangerous spots where you can be a little bit more creative and adventurous with your decision making.
You've got to do the pinning. I mean, that's what it comes down to in games like this I think in general against teams that play 3/5 in the back, but especially teams that do it with more winger on the wing back position as opposed to fullback there. If it's a fullback, they're more comfortable defending deeper. If it's a winger, they're not. And you go back to the Toronto game up there, which they did that, and they played Tyrese Spicer at wing back. And I talked about it in the pregame, like, wow, okay, this is a bold move. He's a very attack-minded player. I have never seen him as a wingback during his time in college. Is he going to be able to defend enough there? Well, you didn't pin him. You didn't make him defend. You didn't make him consistently have to stay back, and he's able to exploit you the other way. So you can't allow that to happen. You've got to pin Minnesota in. You got to pin and make them defend. You have to fix their back line as a unit of 5, as opposed to a unit of 3 with those wingbacks coming up. You've got to fix them. And how do you do that? I think, one, possession is going to be an important tool that you use here, because if you have the ball, you're not going to allow their wingbacks to get forward. First off, you're going to make them have to stay at least halfway, waiting to pounce back a little bit, on their heels a little bit. The other way is you've got to get your spacing right in your movement with Almada, with your wingers, Lobjanidze, if it's Wolf, if it's Mosquera, whoever it is, you've got to get your attacking group to fix their 5. You're not always going to have 5v5, but the way that Atlanta United plays, you often do kind of get a front line of 5, not in a true straight line. Very little in this game is straight lines. A lot of it is kind of groupings of lines. It kind of looks a lot of times for Atlanta like 2 behind 3. The wingers very high and wide. Players in the pocket. Gonzalo talks about getting players in the pocket a lot. And then your number 9 higher up in the middle. So it's almost like a W shape. If you're looking at it from your goal, you're looking forward. Where the winger or the player in the pocket, who that is, that can be different. Sometimes the winger high and wide, we've seen that be Brooks Lennon at times on the right. And if Lennon fixes Rosales, makes him stay back and defend, so then you get the game that you want. You play in their half, you pin him in, he's not able to get forward as easily. Okay, if that's Lennon, then the winger on that side, let's say it's Saba, who's been on the right side lately, maybe he comes into the pocket and he drops a little bit deeper. Okay, that's fine. You can do that. So that means Almada can't be on the right side. He's got to move over to the left side in the pocket, because you want him in the pocket for sure. And then you have your left winger up high. It can be the fullback on that side. Sometimes we've seen Caleb Wiley be high on the left. So that means that winger tucks into the pocket. Sometimes in the way everything rotates, you see a Muyamba or even a Slish, who I think is starting to get more comfortable in these rotations, pop up in that pocket, in the backside of the W, if you want to talk about it that way. You want to get that kind of a shape going forward against their 5, because then their 5 can't go anywhere. You're making them be defenders. You're fixing them back on the back line. 5v5, if it is some combination of Yakimakis, Lennon or Wiley, Almada, Saba, and Wolf or Mosquera, on very rare occasions, both of your fullbacks, which you typically do not want, but let's say that happens occasionally. Any combination of those 5 for Atlanta against Minnesota's back 5, you like your chances. Just when you start getting into the quality of it, because when we talk positional play, and I know we've deep dove into this many times over the years, every Atlanta United manager to varying degrees has been a positional play manager. Some very rigid. I think Gabriel Heinze was extremely rigid in how he wanted it played in terms of the channels and in terms of not being in the same channels. Others have been more loose with it, but the same idea. Anytime you do that, the interchange is so key, but you're looking for either numerical advantages. So the 2v1s you love, and wherever, and let's say you catch Rosales, say he goes forward, you turn the ball over, you attack down that right side. There's not Rosales there to help, so you create a 2v1 with, let's say, Lennon and Saba against their left-sided center back. You love that. You want that all day long. All right? You don't get the numerical advantage. Say you pin Rosales, he stays back. It's 5v5. When you take the qualitative comparison, I think you have an advantage. I think your attackers are better than their defenders. You'll bet on that. You, especially inside of that, wherever you can get Thiago Almada matched up against somebody who either can't run with him or isn't strong in a 1v1, you really like that. So those are the things you're looking for. It is a chess match. I think at times we think the game is either just lots of running, lots of direct play, lots of transition. I think for Atlanta United to thrive in the way that they want to, it needs to be a chess match, and you need to get the pieces where you want specifically to create numerical advantages or qualitative advantages. Those are the key things for me in this game.
I feel like we need to break the whiteboard out and have whiteboard chronicles all over again at times.
Ooh, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes, and maybe we'll break down how it went.
All right. So what's the rest of the day for you?
Rest of the day for me is multiple meetings and things first, and then heading to Kennesaw for some action at the Fraction in the Fifth Third Bank Stadium. You're not going to be there, so I figure I should say it at least once, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I guess. I will be flying solo. Pre-game, Madison Cruz will set you up with all the audio that we caught yesterday at the training ground. So you will hear from Nick Firmino. You will hear from new center back signing Ramsey Khwarazmi. Good conversation with him. You will hear from Steve Cook. John Nelson caught up with him. So you'll hear all of that in pregame. I'll get you set for the match. Kicks off just after 7:30, and then little bit different on the post-game show because I am flying solo and somebody has to go talk to people after the game. It won't be a live post-game show. I'm going to go down and have the conversations with Steve Cook and hopefully some players, and then we'll come back and record an abbreviated post-game show that'll go up on the SDH network pretty soon after the final whistle.
Yes, looking forward to it.
All the action at the Fraction is.
There we go. So, our buddy Ross Davenport, when he drops it on the air, you got to keep it.
God, you cut that, didn't you?
I did. I absolutely did.
Goodness.
He cut it, but he didn't balance it.
Well, Jarrett, you're asking a lot. Okay. Come on. Come on. You've seen John in operation when it comes to technology.
Yeah. It's not something that you want.
No, it's never something that you
Look, my concern is always there's enough smoke coming from the booth that people will think we have elected a new pope.
We might have a couple of times, knowing the way John's tried to plug things in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's
dangerous.
Easy. Yes.
So that's tonight. Tomorrow, Atlanta and Minnesota. You'll be able to listen on 92.9 The Game. Pre-game coverage with Abe Gordon, Garrett Chapman. That's at 6:30. You can also listen on the Odyssey app. If you're not going to the match and watching on Apple TV, you can listen to Mike and I with the home team radio option. And what we've heard anecdotally and in the athletic survey last year is a whole lot of y'all do that, which is very cool. Thank you. I know a whole lot of y'all are going to be in the building as well, but very cool that you can listen to us on Apple TV. And then I actually get a couple of days off before next week's madness, where it will be a Tuesday, Wednesday doubleheader, Thursday doubleheader, Friday doubleheader, Saturday gauntlet.
Mm-hmm. Because it's Open Cup, and then
Open Cup Tuesday, we will have that on radio on 92.9 The Game. Full broadcast, so hour-long pregame, hour-long postgame, and then even at the end of postgame, you will get a 3-4-3 from AST on that, because I'll take it up to 11 o'clock. Yeah. And then Wednesday doubleheader for me, I'll be with Jessica Charman in Duluth for the 4A state championships, girls and boys. Thursday, it's 5A. I'll be with Jess again in Duluth. Then Friday, it is 7A, and I'll be with Justin Hanover for that one. And then next Saturday,
DC.
we have another match, and DC United will be at the Benz. So,
and the twos in Carolina are on Wednesday night on the network also.
I won't have that one because I can't be in two places at the same time.
See,
hey, buddy, we're all gonna die next week.
None of this business. None of the we are calling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 game. Well, yeah. Now it's 10 and 8, but next week it is 8 games in 5 days.
That is correct.
It'll be fine.
6 of them championships, 1 of them Open Cup.
Hey, you know what though? You found a new flavor of Red Bull to just.
I did.
To get you through this.
It's wild that I found it in Perry as well at the Walmart first. Like that was not what I that's not where I usually expect to discover the new flavors of Red Bull.
We're gonna find out one of these days that like Buc-ee's has exclusive Red Bull flavors too. Actually, I think last time I was
Buc-ee's actually doesn't have very much Red Bull at all.
Yeah, last time I was in there, they had Red Bull and then like Diet Red Bull, and that was it.
I need to know what the deal is with that because I'm sure there's a story. They only have 1 row of Red Bull and they only have the original flavors, which is not very good.
No, it's
very strange. They have like a whole cooler full of other drinks. It's very weird.
They've got a great partnership going on with belt holder Logan Paul though, because they have a number of Prime drinks in there.
Yeah,
I haven't tried it. I can't.
I can't speak to it.
It's a little too tart.
Yeah, I can't say that. But the new Red Bull flavor is actually very good. It kind of tastes like Mountain Dew.
What is it? Caraba blah blah blah.
I don't even know. I don't have a can in front of me. Basically, that would be about right, John.
Yeah, so it's like some weird combination of like dragon fruit, Caraba.
No, it's not dragon fruit. That's a different flavor. Don't get it mixed up.
Maple tree, whatever. So.
The new summer Red Bull is very good. It's probably in my top 5 power rankings of Red Bull flavors.
Oh, wow, already.
Well, that's usually how it goes. Like they settle after a time. But it's good. I've went to it quite a bit after now it's widely available when it's not just in Perry, Georgia. Nothing beats the red watermelon flavor. That is still the goat of goats when it comes to Red Bull flavors. If you disagree, fight me.
There you go.
No. I gotta do my own fighting. I have to go to Silverbacks Park Friday night. I'm gonna be doing all the fighting I can handle.
Fight in general. Good luck with that.
Yes. All right. So enjoy your weekend, my friend, before it's 8-5 and we do it all over again. So enjoy the action at the Fraction tonight, and we will see you and hear you tomorrow with Atlanta United and Minnesota United.
Yeah, about 7:00 tonight, you'll be able to listen to the twos on soccerdownhere2.mixler.com. Yes, we are launching the 2. And you'll be able to listen to John and Maddie from River Ridge on soccerdownhere.mixler.com. So if you are...
What?
The 2 is up.
Not yet.
Oh, I thought there was legitimate breaking news.
No, we're soccer.
John's a little slow on the button.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you mid-sentence.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, I got excited. Yeah. I got excited. Like, did we find out that like Reynoso is hanging out like in Atlanta bars now? Maybe the club that opened up on the BP on North Avenue.
No, Reynoso would not be able to hang there or at Magic City or anywhere.
We did talk about Aaron Bupenza in hour number 1.
Aaron Bupenza probably would try to hang out at those clubs and get punched in the jaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing for your top striker to be no.
Hanging out at a pizza joint at 2 a.m.
No, you just make better choices. Go hang out in the street in Zone 6 and just hang out with the twerking lemur in the middle of the street.
Yes. Good luck with that one.
Jeez, this city is. I'm sorry. The World Cup is not ready for Atlanta because
it's going to be quite the collision of things.
Yeah.
Twerking lemurs and
we're gonna have to explain some things to whoever's England's coach is, because I'm assuming they'll like push Garrett Southgate.
England will be begging not to be in Atlanta. They won't be able to handle it. Brazil, on the other hand, would be quite the experience.
Well, here's the question with Brazil. Here's the question: if they come, are they going to be subjected to the Buckhead flu, or are they going to be kind of like James Harden, who somehow plays better when he's in Atlanta? Like the Buckhead flu powers him.
I think the Rio flu is stronger than the Buckhead flu, so I think they'd be okay.
They laugh.
That's fair.
They laugh at the Buckhead flu.
Yeah, they have definite immunity to that.
No doubt. All right, my friend. We'll see you later.
Adios.
There we go.